What's good, Richmond community and beyond? This is Robin Lopez, here to present my latest project that was sponsored by the Richmond Art and Cultures Commission through the city of Richmond. This project is entitled Richmond Speaks, Underground Art, where we get the opportunity to venture with local artists and have a bit more intimate understanding of what inspires their art, what inspires their creativity, and what has brought them to the path that they're on. And so without further ado, we'll just jump straight into the mix and first maybe get to understand what inspires that actual creativity.
I would say the strongest influence for me personally is just a really, really deep desire for the world to be better. I'm not necessarily inspired by like individual artists that I see or follow, but more like I create and express how I feel because I want to see more justice or more liberation or more compassion. So that's what I try to channel into my art, and it's definitely the strongest influence, not just in my creativity, but in everything that I do, always from a place of love and wanting the world to be better.
What influences my creativity? I would say pretty much everything around me, my environment, my family, friends, and honestly, things I just I find interesting, or things I would like to see around me in my surrounding areas.
What influences my creativity? I feel like what influences my creativity is just being able to let go and be free. I usually am a very, very busy person, and I take everything very serious, and I'm always working, and I'm always doing everything how it's supposed to be. And with my creativity, I feel like I just let go. I just open up, and I just like to do art in an imperfect way. So I think just the letting go and being free, and just kind of expressing my feelings without any direction is what I feel influences my creativity.
My creativity has been influenced by, since I was a little kid, by my mother and my Mayan culture. That's what it comes from my heart too.
In a community where there's a lot to inspire us and there's a lot to discourage us, we always find art as being an escape, art being a therapy. And so it's important to learn from our artists in this community. What about our community inspires their artistic expression?
Well, I love being here, and I think that we get a lot of love from this community, We're always around people that they love. We get a lot of compliments, and I think that's one of the main things that we love being here in Richmond too, compared to where we used to.
Oh man, this is where I'm from. This is home. You know what I'm saying? So like, it is my art. You know what I mean? Everything that I'm doing, it was because I was raised in this place. This is where I was born and raised, and I love it. So I'm trying to do everything that I can to beautify this city. You feel me? And also just uplift it and change it. So Richmond is a key factor for sure.
Richmond is really intense. I feel like Richmond just reminds me a lot of like what we're fighting for. There's a lot of injustice that I see, a lot of systemic problems, and a lot of people and animal suffering in Richmond, and I love Richmond a lot. So it's just like literally a constant reminder every time I step out of my door, like I want to make the world better, and like here's what it looks like when people aren't good to each other and when people don't value other people. So yeah, I guess Richmond just reminds me of like the social issues that I care deeply about, and like different ways that I can reach people and express how we can be better to each other, and find new ways to like literally every day express kindness to one another, and make things better. Like, I've become really close to the unhoused community. My partner and I go to Home Depot and serve food to the migrant workers out there. So like all of like the little things that we found to express kindness also translates into my creativity and art of like, okay, so I care about these people and I care about these people. Like, what does it look like when I put that on paper or in paint or something?
I think Richmond factors into my artistic experience because I grew up here and I used to do very realistic professional like portrait work before, but then I started seeing like the artwork on the walls here, the tagging and everything like that, and I started doing my work more like imperfect and more like not artistic, no, but more like different things as opposed to before like portrait work.
When we often see artists or hear of artists, it's easy to assume that maybe that person was born a creative and had just been taught those skills from the moment they were born, but that's not always necessarily the case. Yes, we may have been born as creative, but that doesn't mean that the resources and the opportunities were given to us, or at least provided in an equitable manner. And so I think it's important to understand and to hear from our artists when and how do they start tapping into that creativity, whether that's in that young age or whether at a much older time in their life or more recent time in their life, or did it just happen by accident because maybe someone submitted something on their behalf without their knowledge?
Oh man, that's kind of it's always been in me. When I was about 12, I had an installation over in the Richmond Art Center. It was just like a little sculpture, but that was like the earliest I can remember tapping into my creativity and art journey. From there, it's always been like doodling on like the side of my notes in class or just doing little sketches and whatnot. But taking it serious, I would say maybe about 7 years ago, I really started taking it serious and just really channeling a lot of my energy into my creativity.
I think I've always been pretty creative. When I was younger, I used to draw a lot. And then an adult, who I don't even remember who it was, but I just remember this adult telling me that you shouldn't waste your time doing art, you shouldn't draw because you're not going to make money doing it, and nobody should ever listen to people like that. But it still influenced me a lot, and I stopped doing art, and I stopped being creative, and went through like a lot of struggles. And then just in the last few years, started to create a lot more, and started pursuing tattooing as well as doing occasional murals and other forms of expression. But I feel like it's always been there. And the more that I learn about issues in the world and like how horrible people can be to other people, and also how wonderful people can be to other people and to Mother Earth and to animals, it really motivates me to keep creating and keep expressing those messages and getting them out there to the world.
I never knew that I was into art until I took a class my senior year in high school where they made us do a portrait, and I did it and it looked awesome. My work was actually submitted into an art show without me knowing, and I won an award for it, and I didn't know. And when I got it, it was really cool. And then after that, I just kind of knew I liked art, but never really did it because people were like, what are you gonna do? Focus on school. And I really liked it. And it was just never like a path for me. And then once I was like in my 20s again, that's when I started tapping into it, because for me it's just a form of expression, and yeah.
My culture, that's what inspired me, and you know, where I come from, we are from a tribe, from a Mam tribe, and as well, my mom always told me not to be ashamed of, you know, or always represent it, especially here in this country. But I've been doing artwork since I can remember when I was 4. I would love to, to go to school, and I was only very happy to go to school because I had my drawing notebook. That was the only thing that made me go to school because I had a drawing book, artwork.
As we go around our community, we see countless examples of art, whether it's mural art, whether it's musical artists, whether it's tattoo artists. We see all forms of it in many different ways, shapes, and fashion. And it's very easy for us as community members who are around that, who are ingrained in that artistic community, to feel like it's always around us. But that's not always the case. At least I know for myself, at times it didn't feel like the art that I was participating in was acknowledged or recommended that well by others in the artistic space. And so I think it's important to hear from our fellow artists whether or not they feel that their art medium is acknowledged and represented well.
Yes, I think it gets a lot of love by many here in our community. It does get very good, a lot of attention and love, yes.
I feel like right now, a lot of the community is reaching out, and it's more kind of people that are seeing my art and connecting with it, and then word of mouth, and people are just coming over to me and wanting my art, not only as a tattoo, but prints, stickers, and stuff like that. So I feel like it's been great because people get to kind of connect with my art.
I believe so, and if it doesn't, it is what it is. It's out there and it's for the people, and that's the idea of public art. The idea of public art is to just put it out there for the community to embrace, or not. It is what it is. But I tell you what, if it taps into one person and is appreciated and received by at least one person, mission accomplished, in my opinion. There's no right or wrong way, when creating public art, because that's what it is. It's just for the public, and that's simply where it should stay. So there's no, in my opinion, there's no proper way or way to be acknowledged, and it's there. You gonna accept it. You gotta respect it. It's right. It's out there for you to see.
I feel like definitely, at least in the Bay Area, tattoos are pretty accepted and not frowned upon. They're definitely very popular. I feel like it's pretty represented. I know in other places there's definitely a lot of judgment around tattoos. I did my apprenticeship in Mexico, and the people definitely see them very differently, understandably, because it's a different environment and different context. But yeah, I feel like tattoos are pretty well represented.
Again, art is a beautiful way of sharing what is on our mind, what we're going through, what we're navigating in the present time or in the past, or what we expect to navigate in the future. Something that I think would be very beautiful to hear from our fellow artists is, what are they trying to express? Or what do they feel that their art is expressing? Is it resistance? Is it happiness? Is it joy? Is it anger? Is it hope? Is it compassion? Is it empathy? I think these are very important things to understand and to get to know our artists better.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely see my art as like a lot of culture. My artwork, what I've gotten back feedback is like it connects a lot of people to their inner child, or at least to things that remind them of specific times, places, even smells. A lot of people always tell me that, and I really like that, and I enjoy my artwork because it connects people to memories that they have. They connect with it. It's mostly like cultural, what they connect to, cultural like things that remind them of something, and I think that that's what I really like to do, because I don't know, just carrying something that reminds them of their grandma in Mexico or this and that. I just feel like people connect to me in that way that connects it to their culture.
I don't really do abstract art or anything that someone would look at and like have to ponder. I feel like all of the art that I do, unless of course it's flash tattoos or designs that other people chose, like the art that I do for myself or design for other people is always like a very clear message of this is about this social issue and this is what I want from it. So I do a lot of art about, you know, human liberation, anti-ICE, animal liberation. I do a lot of portraits of animals that need to be adopted, stuff like that. So everything that I create has a very strong, clear message of this is what I want the world to look like, and here's how you can help. So, yeah.
I think that my artwork, it's part of my culture, and it does represent, you know, the spirit of our ancestors that were trying to be erased by, you know, invaders. But it does represent that we're still here, you know, and I hope that it continues to be here. So it's kind of like a resistance, you know, against the oppressors, and also educates our own people.
Me personally, I try to utilize my art as like the voice for my community. I feel like I am part of the community and of the people. Therefore, I try to, you know, say things that may be, you know, murmured around, you know, and some may not have the platform, voice, or just the, I wouldn't say courage, because I feel like we all have a ton of courage. We just got to tap into it. But that's kind of where it comes from. I wouldn't say it's coming from a political or, you know, rebellion state. It's more just coming from like being a voice of my community and just truly being a product of my environment. That's where I'd say.
As artists, we understand that our time on this earth is very short. I think that's something most humans also understand and accept, that our time is finite. We don't live for infinity. We live in this moment, and we live for what we can provide for our community, for our people, for our household, for our friends, peers, colleagues, whatever it may be that provides you that motivation to get up in the morning and smile. But for artists, many of us understand that the work that we put out there is work that lasts a lifetime, beyond a lifetime. Sometimes it withstands the test of time. We see the work of archaeologists pulling up ancient works from those in the past way before our time. And we're just now trying to understand and decipher what it means. And so I think it'd be a very beautiful opportunity to hear from our artists. How do they want their work to be remembered?
I want it to be remembered by just having people connect to it. I feel like people really connect to it, and just doing tattoos for me is like there's no other way than remembering it forever, you know, for that person. So I think it definitely gives like a great experience every time a person gets a tattoo of mine, because it just connects them to something deeper.
I want my art to be remembered as just like it's standing on its own, as educational. I think I really want that most, is for my art to be received and remembered as it being educational, influential, and just really impacting the surroundings, because I do feel the space where it's created from is coming from a pure space. It's not necessarily coming from a place of like clout or what people thinking people may like it or not. It's purely coming from the heart.
I guess just that, like, you know, maybe somebody sees some mural or drawings or even tattoos that I've done in honor of, you know, humanity, and get inspired and like actually do something. And so hopefully they'll be like, oh yeah, I saw this drawing, and it just reminded me, like, we could make the world so much better. Like, we could be happy like that, and we could, like, you know, because a lot of my drawings I try to express, like, the more positive side, because negativity and like what we're against, it's everywhere. Like, we could protest all day, and I do protest all day pretty much, but there's so much of like, we don't want this, and this is ugly, and this is suffering, and this is terrible. But like, we could be happy and thriving and supporting each other and helping each other. So that's what I try to express in my art. So hopefully someone, you know, in an ideal world, maybe when I'm not around, they'll find some old drawings and be like, wow, like, that's so beautiful. Like, look how happy these people and animals are. And like, there's no borders, and everybody has housing. Like, that's so dope. Like, let's make that happen. Or like, we already made that happen, hopefully.
It would be nice if they can keep their people that acquires my artwork. I would like to see them be carry on from the people that got it from to their kids, you know, and then they talk about it, and then they explain or tell them what this piece of art came from and what is the meaning of it, you know, for to be remembered like that in a good way, and what it meant and what it did back in the day.
Again, as artists, we often do the work for ourselves, as selfish as that might sound. We participate in our art forms as a way to express what we're feeling, what we're processing, what we're navigating. But at the same time, we don't just do it for ourselves. We do our art and we participate in our art for others, for other people to enjoy. But that doesn't always mean the masses are there to uplift and encourage or support our artistic endeavors. And this is part of the reasoning behind this project. It's to center those voices in that art form that we don't traditionally see in the four walls of an art center. And so let's take this time, this moment, to hear from our fellow artists on how our communities can better uplift their art.
Well, they do a good job. They help me a lot, you know. I get a lot of support from, once again, from people here, from that they supported by my art, and you know, there's always better, you know, but if I can get more help, it's always nice.
I don't know if I care too much if the community supports my art, as in, like, I don't necessarily want people to like make tattoo appointments or like buy my stuff or follow me. Like, I don't really care about those things. I care much more of like the messages behind it, you know, like it means everything to me that people, like, maybe they see a drawing of like a dog that needs to be adopted, for example, or they see a drawing about you know, border abolition, or I don't know, some message of like social justice and compassion, and they're inspired by that, and then they want to go volunteer or they want to go help out in some way, because there's so much that we can do, and there's so many organizations doing so much amazing work. That means everything to me. Like, my art and creativity, even myself as a person, is like so irrelevant to me. Like, I don't care if people like me, I don't care if people buy my art. I just care if they do something to help the world be better, you know? Like, it's not about me or my drawings at all, you know? It's about like, hopefully maybe someone will look at it and be like, I think I can help with that. Like, I want to get organizing in you know, defunding the police, or organizing in something that makes the world better. That's all I'm here for, you know?
I think that just the support that I'm getting right now is like really supportive, and I really want to start maybe trying to do like a mural here in Richmond. I'd love to. My work is very different. And before, I used to be like doubtful of my work because I didn't think it was like, I don't know, I think that I'm getting into this art, this way of thinking that like art is more than I used to think. As my dynamic when I was younger, it was like, art is not like a thing or this and that, and I feel like now I've fully taken it on, and I want to do way more with my art and have it in my community. So yeah, I think maybe having it up or being able to sell my merch and stuff like that.
Just by sharing, that's like the easiest, it's the most effective way, you know. Word of mouth is like the most powerful thing, you know, most powerful tool aside from, you know, as far as advertising. word of mouth, just being truly supportive by either purchasing people's art, just my art, any other artist that you see, and acknowledging them. I think that's a huge thing that artists really appreciate. It's a very small thing, but I do think it goes a long way because it shows them that what they're doing is not going unnoticed. So sharing their work or just acknowledging it, that you appreciate what they're doing, trying to beautify the city, it could go a long way.
Earlier, we had delved into the more intimate question about how do they want their art to be remembered. And we've heard from our fellow artists and our neighbors, our community members, how they truly feel about that. One way we could think about how their art can be remembered and how their work can be shared is also thinking about where the work ends up. In books, museums, in airports, on television, maybe Netflix, who knows? But I think it's important to also hear from our artists, where would they like to see their work? And if you're watching this and you're engaged in this and you have appropriate connection, maybe consider reaching out to your social network or your social capital and seeing how we can make their dreams become a reality and to actualize that into existence. Let's hear what our fellow artists have to say and where they would love for their work to be seen.
I would like to see my art everywhere. I feel like right now the most rewarding thing for me is having people come to me to get my art on them forever. That in itself is just such a intrinsic good feeling for me. And I think that also I would right now I'm trying to work with maybe doing a beer can labels or stuff like that, just kind of getting my art out everywhere,
Big moment. All of them, we talking New York, LA, for sure San Francisco. I've been speaking that into existence for a while now to have my art in these museums, so to where they can potentially travel. I'm trying to go overseas. I want in Tokyo, Japan. That's my goal. That's my immediate goal right now, which I'm just putting it out there on the biggest platform right now. And other than that, anywhere the world is willing to accept it. I'm trying to go as far as, actually I just recently decided I want to put my art on airplanes. So the tail end of the airplanes, I want to create and design a plane. So we'll see.
That's another one where I'm I don't really care where my art shows up. It's definitely not what I'm pursuing. I don't do anything to be oh, I want this to be in a museum or I want any attention for it. I guess I just want it to be anywhere where people need to see it. But it doesn't have to be my art. It could be anyone's art that just, I always say this, but all I care about is the world being better because we could do so much better. So whether or not it's my art or someone else's art, just anywhere where it's going to inspire people to be I'm someone, I can make things better, because I feel we're so disempowered to be oh, these corporations run everything, there's nothing we can do. But yeah, I guess anywhere that my art could be that would inspire people. But yeah, I definitely don't strive or aim to have my art seen anywhere, billboards or anything. No, I don't really care about all that stuff.
I think everything is nice, at museum, it's for sure, every artist's dreams. But I will be happy if it's at home, and even from a biggest museum, a medium museum, a small city museum, or someone's home and in their living room, and then they're telling the story of the artwork, and as long as it's carry on, and it carries the message.
As we close this out, I think it's very, very important to hear some final words from our fellow artists and maybe let them drop a little tasty nugget of information on all of us, on words of inspiration that they have for future rising artists, future generation, or the people right here, right now watching.
Oh my God. Yo, do what makes you happy. For real. Like, don't let nobody talk you out of what you feel is coming from your heart. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody discourage you from, following your dreams and pursuing your journey. It's your path. And just keep going and just keep it righteous, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, for sure. I think that just going for it and just doing it. And a thing for me was that when I was younger, because art wasn't really something that I had people around me do or speak of, I think that I would definitely say just go for it, do it, and encourage other people to do it. Now I encourage everyone that has an artistic ability to just do what they do, to be creative, because I suppressed my creativity for a while, and right now I'm just getting everything out.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that some mysterious adult whose face I don't even remember had discouraged me from creating, saying like, oh, you won't make money, and just they've probably been really indoctrinated into that capitalist mindset. But don't listen to that. Like, if you find value in expressing yourself anyway, like, just do it, like, create. And like, you don't have to have a miserable job. You don't have to give up all of your creative expression just to have a job to make it by. A lot of people survive and even thrive, doing what they care about creatively. The world really wants to see more art and creativity. Like, we need it. And then I don't know so much where other artists' motivations come from, so I can't speak for everyone, but for me, like, as I've said, and I will always say, like, it literally just comes from a deep sense of love. Like, I do everything because I love everybody so much, and I want so bad for things to be better and for things to, just for us to be better to each other and the earth and the animals. And so any artist, like, I just encourage them, like, just do it from a place of love, Don't create stuff just to make money or just, I don't even know what selfish art would look like. But, like, we just, like, the life is so short to be focused on, I don't know, individualism and capitalism and selfishness. Like, everything we should do should come from a place of love, including our creativity and art. And then it'll just be so fulfilling for your heart. And then you'll be like, I love doing this. You'll never burn out on it. Whereas if you're creating stuff just for other reasons that aren't for your heart and soul, you probably wouldn't, I don't know, just feel like it wouldn't come out the same way. But if you do stuff from a place of love, I feel like it's very sustainable, and I really do think that it makes the world better and hopefully spreads those good intentions and inspires other people to do the same.
I wish that they continue to be grounded to their roots, if they're indigenous of any type of tribes or whatever, they look more into it and they learn more and be proud of it and keep going on and carry it on, especially in the days we live now, to show that we're still here. Well, as you can see, she's wearing one of our dresses from the region where I'm from, in Guatemala. I want her, for sure, our goal is to go back and for her to learn our native language and to learn the true ways and traditions of what my mom we used to have when I was a little kid. I used to speak Mayan fluently, but when I came here, or even when I was in my country, they took it away from me. They told me it wasn't needed anymore. And I do speak some, but as time went by, I was just 3 or 4 years old, 5 years old, and I forgot, So now they told us that at the time they told us that Spanish was the language to speak, and now here, not only Spanish. Now we had to learn English. So now my number one priority will be for my daughter to or any other kids as well, that could go back to their old ways and traditions to keep our spirits of our bloodlines, indigenous bloodlines alive and continue and keep going on. And this is why I dress my daughter like that. So, and she is very proud of it as well, The same with my oldest daughter, as well as her name. That's why I named her as an indigenous name, as well as my oldest daughter. So yeah, that's why I'm very proud of her, because she wants to also be, taught, and she wants to learn our old traditions of our own tribes.
Now, we've heard from all our artists, we've gotten to engage with them, we damn near have gotten to see life through their eyes and experience it through the stroke of their pen, through the stroke of their tattoo gun, through the intense carving of their wood, and so forth. And I think now it's time to hold space to let our artists share whatever else is on their mind that they feel is imperative for the world to hear. And so let me take a step to the side and let them share what they have to share.
I love tattooing, partly because it's a huge step up for me in terms of confidence. I think a lot of people socialize as women kind of like, we put ourselves down a lot. And so I always put myself down about tattooing. And I was like, no, I'm not good. The tattoo shop I work at now had requested that I apply. They're like, we really want to hire you. They asked me 3 times and I kept saying no. I'm like, no, I'm not good at this. And if it weren't for my friends and my partner to really encourage me, I wouldn't have ended up tattooing. They're like, no, you're good. Like, you should do this. And I just had this voice in my head, this negative self-talk. So that's another thing for aspiring artists. Like, don't listen to that voice. We're always going to have that voice in our head that's like, your art is garbage. I feel like artists are like extra critical about it. Like, yeah, I know myself and other people, like, we do something like, oh, it's terrible. And like, objectively, it's good. So I don't know where that voice comes from, but we have to shut it down. And I'm so grateful that I was able to overcome that like imposter syndrome and that negative self-talk, because tattooing has become so fulfilling. Like, when I'm not tattooing, I'm organizing and doing a lot of activism, rescuing animals, just interacting with like a lot of pain and a lot of sadness. So when I'm tattooing, it's like totally self-care and healing, not only for me, but for the people I'm tattooing. I have like amazing experiences with my clients. Like, I've had very few people who have just like been in a bad mood. And even then it's not personal, but most of my clients, like, it's just so beautiful to like connect with them and like listen to them. In another life, I'd be a therapist, so it's really cool to like just listen to people, and I know that they emotionally really enjoy being able to talk to a stranger who's not going to judge them, and I don't know who they're talking about, so they can let it all out. So that's one cool part. And then another part is I've done a lot of tattoos that are like memorials for loved ones who have passed on, or other really meaningful things, and it just like feels so good in my heart to like hear their stories and support them and talk to them, and then also like tattoo them, which is kind of like a ritual for them and like in their healing, and like be a part of their healing process. Like, I'm a complete stranger and they're trusting me to like mark them and put this like really important thing on them, and it's just like amazing. I'm really grateful to be tattooing. And once in a while I get to do designs, like my own flash and my own designs, and so I have a lot of fun drawing happy animals and like social justice messages and stuff. But I find tattooing really, really fulfilling. And like every day I go to the shop, I'm like so excited to meet who comes in and hear their stories and learn about them, because each one of us is like an amazing creature with a whole life of experience, and like sometimes we're just not that connected. We don't listen to each other. So I like to like kind of double as like the tattoo artist, and also like here to listen and connect to you as a human being. And
A little bit about my background. I started out on canvas. I started out doing little sculptures in art class when, back in like junior high school and whatnot. And from there, took a crazy hiatus. I was always creating though, in high school. I'm doodling, like I was saying, on the side of my notes and whatnot. But from there, I was also playing sports, so I was channeling a lot of that energy there. Once I concluded that after college, You know, I was home doing a lot of soul searching, and still creating though. That was the thing. That was always on the back burner. It was always in my back pocket. And from there, it was simply, I just took it serious. Somebody was like, "Yo, you should try painting on like canvas." And so I tried it, and I never looked back. You know, I think I did my first piece was on like a door. It was just the most random piece of wood that I found, and it was on a door. It was a freak. It was Charlie Brown and Snoopy as they was looking out to the water on the little dock. I don't know if y'all remember that that little iconic imagery, but it was that. And so from there, I just kept going every day. And the OG noticed, because I would put it in my window where I was living in Berkeley. And the OG peeped it, and he'd been living there. We've been living next to each other for 2 years at this point. I had no clue that this dude has done all type of artwork, you know, for like the city of Richmond, Oakland, Berkeley. He got all those installations in the Berkeley Bulb. Like it, so he saw some of my work and asked me, hey, he pulled his car back. He got all these art supplies, gave me my first easel, you know what I'm saying? And so from there, it just grew. And, you know, fast forwarding to today, that was 7, 8 years ago. Fast forwarding today, you know, I'm out here trying to put on for the city of Richmond. The idea is to make Richmond a tourist attraction. And by doing so, just throwing out a ton of art installations everywhere, for people to specifically come to the city to take photos next to that art installation. That's the idea right now. And by doing so, the first phase, I got this broken down into 3 phases. I'll tell you about the first phase right now. The first phase is to put out these little free libraries. I currently got one over at the Richmond Arts Center right now that's been doing numbers. You got the community receiving it very well, continuously taking books, giving books. It's been going in rotation. It's been going for about a year now, you know? And so from there, I'm currently working on 5 more. And right now, I've built and painted 5 that I'm about to donate to local elementary schools out here in the city of Richmond in the very near future. We're talking tomorrow, this week, you know? So stay tuned. There's gonna be a lot of utility behind those libraries as well. Now we're tapping into Web3, you know what I'm saying? And we're trying to bring Web3 to the city of Richmond. We're talking, you know, AR, we're talking, you know, metaverse. We really trying to expand the city of Richmond like in a real way, turning this place into a real tourist attraction. So Rear City Rise, get ready, man, because it's gonna be a lot of traffic sliding through. I got some plans for y'all too, man. So it's a lot of ideas, you know, happening for the city of Richmond, you know, and that's just me. That's just coming out of my head, and I'm just trying to put it into play. So this is a lot of behind the scenes information right now, but you know, I felt this is about the right time to you know, get the cat out of the bag, because it's happening right now. Facts, man. This is from my uncle, man. He passed on me, and you know, it's just simply see you when I get there, and that's just real meaningful. And this is just pure inspiration. You know, it's what I grind for. You know, it's a whole thing behind it. And it was actually designed by me as well. So this is one of the first pieces that I tattooed on me that I actually designed. In the Richmond, California, I had to put that on me just to rep, because I was out in Alabama, and man, it was different out there, man. So I had to remind myself daily, you feel me? And also got one, you know, that's real. This is actually a family tattoo at this point now. Pretty much everybody in my family got this same tattoo. I also designed it. It says fam and God first, you know? So it's kind of like a play. It's a play with design and words. And yeah, man. So that's just a few of them. I got a bunch of them they covered, but man, I'm not trying to get nude on camera for y'all, man. But yeah, that's where we at right now. It's a real story. I got a few more. I told myself, you know, when I create a family, that's when I start getting my family tree on me. I start creating my family tree, and you know, I got my twins at the house, so I think it's about that time. So I got that itch again. We gonna be back in the lab. I'm gonna tap in with some of these tattoo artists for sure.
So I think that I want to like also share like how my experience with art was within like kind of like my Mexican family growing up. It was never really like a thing like, oh, just draw, but that's not gonna be what you do kind of thing, you know? And I was very close to finishing school. I was half a semester away and I dropped out because I was just not feeling it. I was not feeling it, and that's when I decided to do a therapy. So I was doing psychology in school, and I dropped out and I went to art school because I knew that I wanted to do art, but I didn't know what or how. So I went and I did graphic design, but I realized that I didn't like being behind a computer, and I like real like person-to-person experiences, and I feel like that drives my art because I get to feel people's emotions, and I'm super empathy, where I feel like I grasp people's emotions, and I put that into my work. And I feel like for the longest time I kind of was suppressing the creativity in me because I was like, no, this is not going to get me anywhere, or what am I going to do with this? But the act of finally just doing it and living a creative life has made me feel so good, and this intrinsic like super good feeling inside of me that just kind of makes me want to keep being creative and like bring out other outlets in me that I never even had. And if I have an idea of something creative, I just go for it and I do it. And I feel because I always do things with intention, and maybe it doesn't come out the way I want it to, but it shows me, oh, you can do it. Coming back to that, you know, I did it with tattoos. You know, I never thought that I could tattoo, but I decided I'm just gonna do it. It was a little difficult at first when I was starting because I would get a lot of clients, male clients that would come into my space and just kind of say, oh, don't be gentle with me. Oh, like, make sure you stick in the needle far enough. Like, oh, don't be like super feminine and stuff like that. That would just kind of like, what, you know? And I started really like, I think that like now with the experience that I've gotten much confident, and I've just grasped everything. Like, no, I am an artist. I am a tattoo artist. And I'm just gonna do it, and I'm gonna kill it, and that's what's been going. You know, that's what's been happening, and I feel like that I've been attracting those kinds of clients that now respect me and just kind of want that feedback too. You know, I've gotten a lot of people ask me like, hey, how should I do it to get into it? And I think for me it was just like an experience that I had, and that pushed me to really become a tattoo artist was, I did it, and I told one of my friends, oh, I'm going to start doing it. She's like, great, I always wanted you to become a tattoo artist. And so I said, yeah, you know, I'm gonna start. And I started doing little hearts, little infinity signs, and it was until she invited me. I had only done one tattoo. She invited me over to a party that she had, and she said, hey, everyone here wants a tattoo by you. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I don't know how to tattoo. I had only tattooed one person by that time. And I was nervous the whole time at the party. I was feeling like I was having anxiety attacks because I didn't trust myself. And all these people are like, hey, are you ready? Oh, I'm so excited. And I was so nervous. And I went up to her and I told her, I'm sorry, like, I'm gonna have to back out. Like, I can't do it. And she just looked at me and she was like, I'm gonna tell you something. If you leave right now and you don't do it, you're gonna be the only one that doesn't believe in yourself, because everyone here believes in you. And they just know you're an artist and that you're gonna do it. So if you leave, you're not believing in yourself, because here you are and everyone believes that you're an artist and that you're gonna do it. And so I felt like I couldn't let myself down in that way. And so I did them. I ended up doing like 25 tattoos that day. I had the time of my life. And that's when I was just like, wow, I want to do this. I felt like I talked to each person, and I think that now the environment, the dynamic that I have in my little room is like very one-on-one, and I love it because although I didn't want psychology to be the thing that I did for the rest of my life, I enjoyed it all my college years. I enjoyed it, but I didn't want to do that. But now it's just like I get to use that and just speak to my clients. My clients feel very comfortable, and I love it now, you know? So I'd say to anyone, go for it. Go for whatever you want to do because you can, and there's ways to do it, you know? So yeah.
I wish that there were more indigenous, Central American indigenous school, maybe one school, or that will teach our language that we used to speak, that they're still speaking down in my country or even in Mexico. That would be very nice if there was like a group, it's even a small group, that will come and gather to learn the language, a couple of languages, because there's many dialectos that today are speaking in our native lands in southern Mexico. So that will be very, very nice too, to learn or to teach our new kids, our younger these generations, to speak the true language that was taken away from me, from others, Like I'm past 50, and I wish at the time I didn't have control of my future, but the government did, so that's what they did to me. And I wish I could help to give it back to our new generations and speaking Nahuatl or Mayan or Mam is my native tribe language, which is Mayan, so I would love to see that. Hopefully in the near future, that will be beautiful, or any type of, from Peru, from any type of dialect, language, indigenous from our continent, from Turtle Island. And of course, the art, it's included as well. I would love to see that happening more, and if there is a way for me to help, I will definitely help.
Richmond community and beyond, thank you again so much for taking the time to hear from us, to hear from our fellow artists, and to understand what inspires them, what motivates them, where they'd love to see their work, how you could support it, and how we as a community can better come together and point the artwork out. If we see a mural by Deontay, or if we see someone sporting a piece from Viviana, maybe like the one on my arm, or if we see pieces that Luis had built and carved out in maybe your neighbor's living room, or if we see the works of any other person that we've highlighted and we focused on, share that story with someone who may not have heard of them. Let them know who they are. Let them know that that's not only an artist, but that's your neighbor. That's your fellow community member. That's someone who relies on your support and your advocacy for their livelihood. Because we have always constantly lived with the challenge that the arts are not well supported monetary-wise. And I think it's an important reminder to everyone out there that without the existence of art, there is no existence of our stories, no existence of understanding history, no existence of understanding how we come closer, an inch closer towards social justice or for better policies. It is through the act of art, whether it's through forms of resistance or happiness, that we're able to visualize and contextualize what society wants and what society needs. Again.
Activate.